15 spine-chilling true horror stories revealed, terrifying accounts from haunted Reddit users. Jenna never believed in ghosts. She considered herself a rational woman, a good mother trying to shield her children from the chaotic whispers of urban life. Then she moved to a quaint Midwestern town, taking her 2 kids to a house that she inherited from her late father. With its white picket fence and tree-lined street, it seemed like the ideal spot for a fresh start. Yet, the shadows cast by that fence echoed unsettling tales that loomed like a fog over the town. Children had vanished. Gone without a trace. Most folks dismissed it local legends, campfire chatter. But as Jenna settled in, the whispers came alive, and reality began to darken. At first, it was the sounds. Soft footsteps echoing against wooden floors. Shadows flitting just out of sight. But the real fear began when her youngest, Nathan, babbled about his new friend. A friend who came to play when the moon hung low and the stars shivered in the cold sky. Jenna smiled, believing it to be common childhood imagination. But the neighbors didn't share her relief. They wore concerned expressions, glances full of warning. "Shouldn't he play inside?" they'd mutter, every word a dagger to her heart. "Just a phase," her husband would say, brushing off her unease with a wave of his hand. He thought the stress of their move was affecting her. Jenna felt trapped between reality and an abyss of growing dread. Sleepless nights turned into desperate searches online, where she stumbled upon stories eerily similar to her plight. The dread seeped deeper, children led away by the so-called friends who were less innocent than they seemed. Yet, no one ever spoke of it openly. Determined to protect her children, Jenna dug deeper into the town's history. She spent long nights scrolling through old newspapers and community boards. Each article revealed secrets, conveniently buried tales of children disappearing throughout the decades, with chilling continuity. A principal, a local hero, lurked in those dark timelines. The wrenching truth began to twist in her gut. That night, as Jenna sat on the edge of Nathan's bed, she heard his giggles pierce through the silence. Heart racing, sweat beading on her brow, she turned toward the closet where shadows pooled like ink. "Nathan, who are you talking to?" The air felt dense, every tick of the clock amplifying her fear. "Mommy, my friend wants to play." His cheerful indifference sent chills down her spine. She braved the dark, standing between the kid and the abyss, ready to confront whatever hid there. And then she saw it. The flicker of a shadow, a grin that twisted familiar, a dark reflection of the principal from the yearbook she had turned over. The energy in the room constricted, and a whisper snaked through the air, beckoning her to join the game. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The weight of dread crushed her as she stood frozen. The neighbors were watching. Their faces pressed against her windows, eyes glinting with a knowing fear that sent her pulse racing. They weren't just friendly townsfolk, no, they were gatekeepers of a horror she had no insight into. The breeze outside thickened with tension, the familiar charm of her quaint town melting away. The game was real, and Nathan was ensnared. Jenna felt a scream clawing at her throat. She had stumbled into a nightmare, dancing on the edges of a secret too horrifying to grasp. Choices loomed before her: flee or fight. But how could she trust when the very monster that had claimed so many in this town wore a smile? Shadows coiled tight around her heart as she thought about the horrifying truth lurking in the darkness, keeping her standing at a precipice where one wrong step could cost her everything. And with her son caught in the hiding embrace of the unknown, Jenna had no idea just how monstrous the truth would become. Jenna's breath quickened, a ragged gasp trapped in her throat. The weight of her decision pressed down like a vice, each moment ticking closer to a fate she couldn't bear to imagine. She shivered despite the warmth of the room, glancing back at Nathan, who was still entranced, giggling to himself as if he were in on a secret that she was not. "Mommy, look!" His tiny fingers pointed eagerly toward the closet. The sliver of darkness seemed to pulse in the dim light, alive with unspoken promises. The whisper tangled with the sound of children laughing, a sinister echo that twisted her stomach. "Close your eyes, Nathan," she whispered urgently, forcing her feet to move. "Stay right here." She took a step forward, her hand shaking as she reached for the closet door. The wooden frame was cool beneath her fingertips, and she could taste fear in the air, sharp and metallic. She shoved the door open, the creaking hinges announcing her entry into whatever lay within. To her horror, the closet was empty except for a small pile of toys, forgotten relics of childhood. Yet, outside, the children's laughter continued, loud and jubilant, as though unseen ghosts were playing just beyond her walls. A chill ran down her spine, and she turned back to Nathan, who now had a wild look in his eyes. "He's coming to play, Mommy!" Nathan shouted, his voice booming with excitement. "He says you have to join." Panic washed over her. She dashed across the room, grabbing Nathan's shoulders, shaking him gently. "What do you mean? Who is coming? Who's your friend?" "Nate's friend is Mr. Hubble. He likes games and he's so much fun." Nathan beamed, oblivious to the horror that curled like smoke around them. "He told me to follow him in the woods." The woods. The very place the townsfolk whispered of, the place where children had vanished. Memory stirred as Jenna recalled those faded newspaper clippings, filled with faces smiling innocently. They too had played, once, before the night swallowed them whole. "Nathan, listen to me. We can't go. No playing outside tonight, okay?" He frowned, stubbornness coloring his features. "But he says it's a special game, Mommy. He says it's about to start." Thunder rumbled in the distance, a low growl of storm clouds gathering above. As lightning split the sky, illuminating the space between shadows, Jenna could have sworn she saw an outline bending against the window, a figure cloaked in darkness. Her heart raced as recognition set in. It was the same figure she had glimpsed in the yearbook, grinning with a soft malevolence. "No!" she screamed, pulling Nathan back toward her. The moment he stumbled, the shadows seemed to flicker, like an old film reel stuttering into frame. Their living room transformed, blending with the landscape of childhood memories, echoes of laughter and games, twisted into something dreadful. She felt the pull of the outside, a gravitational force tugging at Nathan. The buzzing energy connected them to the darkness outside. The laughter grew louder, an infestation against the backdrop of thunder. Jenna's resolve tightened as dread coiled around her chest. There was no escaping it now. "Nathan, we need to go now." Before she could fully process it, the door swung raucously open, burst wide by unseen hands. Shattered glass tinkled to the floor, glinting menacingly like the eyes of too many hungry watchers. Figures, those same neighbors, lined the street, mouths twisting into smiles that chilled her blood. "Join the game, Jenna," they sang, voices dripping with a honeyed malice. "We all want to play." A wave of terror crashed over her, and as she yanked Nathan into her arms, she realized the truth: they were never going to let them leave. The claws of the game had sunk too deep. Desperation surged, and Jenna sprinted towards the back door, heart throbbing as if it would burst. But the echoing laugh filled her ears, and the shadow loomed closer, promising the special game was just beginning. Just as she reached for the door, it swung open violently, and Jenna stood at the edge of darkness once again, feeling the pull of the unseen world demanding her son. If she stepped through, would they like her too? As the darkness beckoned, Jenna howled against the night, blending her fear with resolve. "I want to let you take him." But the answer was a whisper, a soft, insidious promise that seeped deeper than fear. "You'll join us, soon." In a heartbeat, the secrets buried in the shadows danced back to life, ready to rise. Would she have to choose, once again, between sanity and the game? The town waited, hungry for the next move. The wind howled outside, a mournful cry that echoed through the house as Jenna fought against the instinct to recoil. She felt the vibrating pulse of the malevolent presence all around her, thick and suffocating. Nathan clutched her tightly, a tiny weight against her chest, as if he could sense the danger lurking just beyond their threshold. "Mommy, are we going to play?" His voice was innocent, unaware of the darkness coiling around them. It cut her deeply, twisting a knot of guilt in her stomach. Jenna's heart was pounding so hard she thought it might crack under the pressure. They couldn't stay in the house, yet the world outside was a twisted playground she could never let him enter. "Just stay close, Nathan," she murmured, her eyes darting to the open door where the shadows of smiling figures lingered, their faces under the veil of the night. The neighbors, all those familiar faces twisted with insatiable hunger for something sinister, beckoned her with fluid motions, their laughter hanging in the air like a malevolent fog. How had this happened? How had the once familiar turned into a nightmare on their doorstep? "Join the fun, Jenna. Just one game." They chorused, their voices an ominous melody that thrummed through her like the unsteady beat of a drum. "No!" Jenna screamed, pulling Nathan away from the threshold. We can't play. We have to go." But as she tried to retreat, the doorway seemed to pulse, exuding an energy that pressed against her, making the act of retreat feel futile. The laughter rose and fell like waves crashing against the rocks of her sanity. "Mommy, look! Mr. Hubble." Nathan pointed, his eyes wide with unfiltered glee. Jenna felt her stomach drop as she turned to see a tall shadow standing just beyond the light of the porch. It loomed, a figure dressed in a tattered coat, its face obscured by the brim of a wide, weathered hat. What little skin she could see appeared pallid and stretched tight, like hide over bone. "Nathan, get behind me," she commanded, her voice shaking. "Now." He obeyed, but his excitement waned as he caught sight of the figure, eyes fluttering from joy to confusion. Jenna slowly backed away, her heart racing as the intensity of the laughter grew, threatening to suffocate her in overwhelming waves. "Why don't you want to play?" The voice of Mr. Hubble cut through the din, chilling her to the bone. The way it slipped from his lips was almost melodic, yet woven with a sharpness that made her want to scream. "Because it's wrong," she shouted, her hands trembling. "You're not real. None of this is real." But the laughter turned to gasps, a sudden shift of energy, a burden of disbelief cascading around her. "Come now, Jenna. You must see every game has rules." A flicker of blackness seemed to dance within Mr. Hubble's hat, a dreadful mirage as shadows tangled among the crowd of neighbors, panic coursed through her veins as she dug her nails into her palms. They were too close, too eager. The nature of their game was changing rapidly, something sinister lurked behind their wide eyes. In that moment, the ground beneath her felt unstable, the reality of their situation shifted upon the axis of fear. "Mommy!" Nathan's voice broke through her haze, pulling her attention back to him. "He says I can win a prize. A big, shiny prize." "No. You cannot listen to him." Jenna's voice trembled. She turned to Nathan, desperately trying to reach him past the fog of enchantment that cloaked his innocence. But as the last word left her lips, the crowd surged forward, hungry to seize their prey. The figures, once so benign, twisted into grotesque shapes, distorting the very air around them. Jenna felt the icy grip of despair close in, drenching her thoughts in terror. "Nathan! Run!" she shouted, adrenaline pushing her to move forward, forcefully breaking through the towering figures that threatened to engulf them. But the shadows lunged at the last moment, arms reaching like vines, clawing to pull them into the depths. As Jenna barely pushed Nathan onward, the world around them exploded like fireworks in the night. A maelstrom of laughter and screams, all drowning in the echoing cry of Mr. Hubble. "Play your best, Jenna. The game has just begun." What lay ahead, safety or doom, was a question hovering on the edge of her unraveling sanity. Jenna sprinted into the night, grasping Nathan's hand tightly as they fled into the darkness. But something was shifting behind them, ready to hunt them down. Could they outpace the game? Or was it merely waiting for the right moment to strike? The stakes were high, and they were running out of time. The chill of the night wrapped around them, cold fingers biting at Jenna's exposed skin. Every step crunched beneath her feet, the gravel trailing their escape like a grim melody, a relief and a curse at once. Her breath came in gasps, each exhale a plea for safety, each inhale filled with the tang of fear. Nathan, barely holding on, echoed her urgency. "Mommy, why are they chasing us?" He whimpered, the innocence evident in his wide eyes filled with confusion. His question pierced her heart, boiling desperation rising. They're not real, Nathan. Just keep running." They dashed down the street, shadows shifting tantalizingly at the edges of her vision, taunting her retreat. Jenna glanced over her shoulder, and dread clawed at her insides. The neighbors were there, their grotesque forms melding with the night, reveling in their surreal game. A little bit of fun. They cackled, the sound slithering into her ears and bringing a cold sweat to her brow. Jenna squeezed Nathan's hand tighter, feeling the warmth of his small palm against hers, keeping her rooted in reality. Just a few more blocks, then they could hide somewhere safe. Yet, safety felt like a cruel, elusive mirage. They rounded the corner to find themselves facing the park. Dark trees loomed overhead, their branches twisting like skeletal hands. Desperation tugged at her, but the whisper of the wind through the leaves called her, promising refuge. Together, they sprinted towards the massive oaks, hoping to lose themselves in the shadows. "Stay quiet," she hissed. The night felt alive, crackling with anticipation, each sound magnified: rustling leaves, distant laughs, the haunting refrain of Mr. Hubble that echoed in the air around them. Under the canopy, the darkness swallowed them whole. The trees loomed, black shapes against the star-speckled sky. But there was no peace here. The air felt thick with an unseen weight, suffocating and warm. Jenna crouched low, pulling Nathan close to her as they pressed into the earth, hearts pounding like wild animals in a trap. "Mommy, what if they find us?" Nathan whispered, eyes full of terror reflecting the moonlight. Jenna could barely breathe, the question echoed loudly in her mind, eating away at her courage. "They won tea, sweetie. I promise." Just then, a sound pierced the silence: a distant, merry laughter. Then closer, louder. It wrapped around them like a snake, squeezing. The laughter was layered now, mingling into muffled whispers, shifting shapes hiding behind the towering trunks, their glimmering eyes searching. "Come on, join us!" Someone sang out, the voice echoing from all directions. They were toying with her, and the weight of dread intensified. Mommy Nathan's small voice was barely a murmur. I'm scared." Jenna felt his small body trembling. That feeling, that all-consuming grasp of fear, she knew it too well. "Listen, Nathan. We need to stay quiet, stay still." But suddenly, the laughter erupted, echoing from all sides. It was no longer distant, they were here, gliding through the trees, weaving among shadows like ghostly phantoms. "Do you want to win the prize?" Another voice beckoned, sweet and sinister, making her skin crawl. "Come and play, little one." "No." Jenna shouted, her resolve breaking. "Get away from us." There was no time to think, instinct took over. Clutching Nathan, she bolted deeper into the dark heart of the park, branches grasping at her clothes, the night closing in. But something deep within her twisted. What if there was nowhere to run? What if they were always one step ahead? Suddenly, the ground trembled beneath her feet as a figure emerged from the shadows. It was Mr. Hubble, a sinister grin stretched across his pale face, eyes glinting like shards of glass. The branches twisted eerily behind him, forming crooked shapes of torment, creeping closer. "Are you ready to play?" he crooned, his voice wrapping around her like a shroud. Jenna felt the last bits of hope churn into despair. This wasn't an escape, it was a trap. Nathan gasped beside her, the echo beckoning, the allure of the game growing stronger. "Mommy, it's okay. Don't be scared." But how could she tell him the truth? The truth that they weren't just playing a game, that they were hunted prey in a chilling nightmare. And as she looked into the depths of the darkness, she understood something was coming for them, something patient, and it was ready to strike. Would they become part of the game forever? But just ahead loomed a flicker of light, or was it a trap made to lure them in? With the shadows swirling around them, Jenna realized the night held more secrets than she could imagine. The game was far from over, and it wasn't just about survival. It was about the choices they had to make, choices they didn't fully understand yet. Would their next move seal their fate, or grant them a fleeting chance at escape? The faint glimmer in the distance seemed to pulse, each flicker calling to Jenna like an unspoken promise. "Mommy, look!" Nathan gasped, his fingers tightening around hers, a mixture of fear and curiosity warring within him. Jenna hesitated, panic racing through her veins. A flicker of hope was more dangerous than the darkness surrounding them. "No, Nathan," she whispered, pulling him back. It could be a trap. But even as she said it, her heart wavered. The shadows danced around them, an unholy circus of terror, waving their twisted limbs in the canopy above. The laughter had shifted again, growing soft and conspiratorial, as if the trees themselves conspired against them. "Join us, dear children. Come to the light." "And no!" Jenna shouted, forcing herself to take a step back, dragging Nathan away from the seductive glow. The laughter escalated around them, turning chaotic. "We want to play your game." Yet their protests only egged on the figures lurking at the edges of the park. They emerged in dribs and drabs from the shadows, their bodies grotesque parodies of the neighbors she used to know, Mrs. Peters with her hillbilly grin, Mr. Gibbons with his slack jaw, all twisted into a grotesque redemption of the innocent faces she used to see daily. "Don't you want to play?" Mr. Hubble's voice trailed like smoke, curling around her. It was intoxicating, threatening to drown her one last time in despair. He stepped closer, the horrid branches slithering behind him, reaching out. Jenna flicked her gaze between Nathan's terrified face and the blackened figures closing in. She could never let him get taken. "Run!" she screamed, yanking Nathan with all her strength. Her muscles screamed in protest, but adrenaline surged through her blood like fire. They bolted deeper into the park, the laughter echoing behind them like a jeering chorus. It was all-consuming, surrounding them, slicing through the fabric of the night. But too soon, Jenna's lungs burned, and she stumbled into a clearing where the trees parted as if to mock her. The flickering light now illuminated a small circle carved into the ground. What is that?" Nathan whimpered, terror making his voice tremble. "I don't know," Jenna mumbled, desperately scanning the perimeter for anything that could lead them to safety. The flickering light beckoned, brighter now, casting a pale glow in a shimmering bubble encircling a grotesque figure crouched on the ground. Its face, if it could even be called that, was a mask of glee, split open in an eternal grin, eyes glued like glass marbles to the trembling duo. "Come closer, little ones. I have a gift for you." Jenna broke out in a cold sweat. "Nathan, don't look at it," she rasped, feeling her heart seize. But Nathan, drawn by the hauntingly sweet voice, edged closer, hypnotized. "Mommy. It wants to share something." His voice was full of childlike wonder, cutting through Jenna like a knife. "Get back!" she cried, lunging to pull him away, but the ground beneath them twisted suddenly, the earth curling like a snake, threatening to swallow them both. With a rush of panic, Jenna grabbed Nathan just as a shadowy hand shot out from the ground, clawing around Nathan's ankle, pulling him down toward the dark opening. "No! No! No!" Jenna shouted, reaching for him desperately. "Mommy! Help!" His voice echoed in her ears, twisting into a sound of pure terror. Adrenaline surged, and she redoubled her grip. "You want to take him. I want to let you." But just as she felt him slipping from her hold, the piercing laughter erupted again, louder, brighter, a cacophony of glee that made her gut churn. The encircling shadows seemed to pulse with malicious delight, as if the entire night reveled in their struggle. Then out of nowhere, a siren wailed in the distance, a normal sound, but in this moment, it felt like a death knell, a siren heralding their inevitable doom, amplifying the urgency around them. But it was a sudden reminder that the world still spun outside this hell. As she wrestled to pull Nathan up, her eyes caught the flicker of light again, but now it twisted menacingly, revealing tendrils that reached toward them, slashing through the air and closing in. Questions burned in her mind. What power lay in that light? What awaited them if they gave in? Just then, out of the corner of her eye, she noticed another shadow shifting at the edge of the clearing, a flickering figure unseen by the nails of horror eagerly reaching for Nathan. "Run, Nathan!" She screamed, but the voice did not echo back. Instead, darkness began to swallow everything. As the wind howled and the shadows lunged, Jenna's heart pounded with realization. This was not just about survival, it was about fighting against the choking grasp of fate itself. But as she felt her grip loosen, and Nathan's small body was pulled further into the abyss, she knew she had only one chance left. Would they find a way back to the light, or would the shadows claim them both forever? Jenna's world cascaded into chaos as the shadows lunged and the grotesque grip of darkness tightened around Nathan. Time warped, every heartbeat felt like an eternity. She could see fear etched on Nathan's face, his eyes wide and glistening with unshed tears. "Mommy!" he cried, his voice a fragile thread in the storm of panic. "Hang on!" she shouted, her heart racing, fiercely pulling him back. But it felt futile. The shadows shrieked and howled, delighting in their torment, and it was as though the earth itself conspired against her. In that fleeting moment, she wondered if this was at the end. But no. This wasn't just her fight, it was theirs. With a surge of desperation, she dug her heels into the ground, arms straining as she planted herself firmly. "You're not taking him!" she yelled, channeling every ounce of her will into that one sentence. She envisioned the light, the warmth of safety, of home, of laughter. But the flickering glow morphed with each pulse, something sinister lurking just beneath the surface. The shadow's grip slackened for a mere moment, her fingers managing to clutch his ankle. Sweat dripped down her brow, her breath ragged. Her gaze darted around the clearing, searching for anything that could help. The trees loomed like towering sentinels, their branches gnarled, fingers stretching toward them, as if wanting to join in the ghastly game. "Mommy, I'm scared." Nathan whined, the terror in his voice slicing through her. She could feel her resolve faltering. Doubt crept in like a fog. Could she really save him from whatever lurked beneath? "Close your eyes, Nathan. Just close your eyes and hold on tight," she urged. As he obeyed, Jenna felt her heart tear. She wasn't just fighting for survival, she was standing against nightmare incarnate. Without warning, the ground shuddered violently. A bone-chilling laugh erupted from the shadows, reverberating through the air, the sound like shattered glass scraping against her sanity. "You're too late, dear mother. Your light has dimmed." In a panic, Jenna tried to focus on the flickering figure at the edge of the light. "We just want to go home. Please, let us go," she pleaded, those words hanging in the air as if tethered to her last hope. The figure shifted, its grotesque face peeling back further, the grin widening impossibly, revealing rows of jagged teeth that dripped with darkness. "Home. There's no home in this realm. Only despair and games." "Games?" Jenna whispered, choking on the word. Suddenly, memories flooded back, moments of innocence, joy, laughter. They didn't belong here. She would fight back. "Nathan, ready?" she asked, adrenaline fueling her resolve as she tightened her grip. "On 3, we're going to jump back." "Why yes," came his shaky whisper. 1, 2. As she prepared for that final lunge, the shadows recoiled, their grip loosening. A new sound erupted, the siren roared again, closer now, transforming into an anguished scream that pressed against her chest like a weight. 3. She shouted, and they both hurled themselves backward, tearing away from the grasp of dark tendrils, flying through the air as the clearing erupted into a cacophony of terror. But just as they landed, the world shifted. The park was gone, replaced by a yawning abyss, something even blacker than the night around them. Jenna felt her breath catch in her throat as reality warped. The laughter came again, deafening, all-consuming. "Mommy! It's so dark." Nathan's whimper split her heart. She turned, spotting a distant light glimmering once more, but it was shadowed by a massive figure rising in the other direction. Its silhouette towered over them, eyes glowing with ravenous hunger. It loomed, an embodiment of their darkest fears, ready to swallow them whole. Panic surged anew, pure and unfiltered. "We have to go, Nathan." She gasped, but the edges of her vision blurred, her thoughts spiraling into confusion, yet she knew one thing, deep in her bones, they were not yet finished. This fight was only just beginning. "Run!" she yelled as the creature took a step closer, the ground trembling beneath its weight. But which way? With the shadows closing in, Jenna felt a chill creep up her spine. What would happen if they got caught again? Caught in the clutches of a terror beyond their imagination. Whether light or dark, the question hung like a noose. What awaited them next, in the space between light and shadow? Jenna shoved Nathan forward, heart hammering like a trapped animal. The darkness writhed, pulsing with malevolent energy, but the dim glimmer beckoned them. Just a few steps, she thought desperately. Just a few terrifying steps to escape that looming beast. "Keep moving," she gasped, her voice barely above a whisper, laden with urgency. Nathan was stumbling, his small legs working overtime to keep up. She barely acknowledged how the earth twisted under her feet, like a living thing trying to swallow them whole. Behind them, the laughter was rising, a maniacal symphony echoing off the walls of an unseen abyss. It felt like a chase now, raw instinct kicking in as her eyes darted between the silhouette of the beast and the faraway light. "Faster!" she cried, panic thickening in her throat. But every inch they gained felt like a mirage, the light flickering like a dying flame that wanted to snuff itself out. Then Nathan cried out, something caught in his throat. "Mommy, my foot!" He stumbled, tripping over something unseen. Jenna spun around, her heart dropping as she saw him on the ground, writhing in a tangle of shadows that seemed to reach out specifically for him. "No! Nathan!" She lunged toward him, grasping his hand as she crouched down. He was sobbing now, raw anguish spilling forth as she pulled frantically. Her breath was a ragged hiss, the cold tendrils weaving around her like chains. "No!" she screamed, yanking Nathan up as she caught sight of the towering figure. It was advancing, slow and menacing, eyes glimmering as if to say, "You will not escape." Desperation turned to rage. "You will not have him!" Jenna bellowed, a shout that echoed back at her, as if defying the darkness itself. She pushed Nathan further, adrenaline coursing, her own heart pounded a defiant rhythm. But the creature didn't stop, a terrifying mix of shadows and swift movements, it glided rather than walked. Jenna felt it pressing down on her, suffocating. Every shadow around them became a living nightmare. Just a few feet to the light. "Mommy! Please!" Nathan's voice cracked, panic mixing with tears. She felt his small hand slipping, fighting against the darkness clawing at him. "Hold on!" she gasped, abandoning all caution. She pulled them both forward, tears stinging her eyes as she forced their bodies against the weight of darkness, willing them to reach that sliver of hope. The light gleamed, more vibrant now, almost mocking their struggle, where shadows dared not tread. "Here. Hold my hand, don't let go." They stumbled toward the pinprick of brightness, but Jenna could see the horrific form behind them surge forward, reflecting pure malice in its twisted features. A jagged maw opened wide, emitting a sound that vibrated through Jenna's bones, a shriek of unholy triumph. With one last, furious effort, Jenna pushed through, feeling Nathan's grip upon her fade as she turned to shield him from the encroaching danger. "I want to let you take him," she screamed, the defiance breaking through her fear. Were they truly safe? The light flickered again, the echo of wounded laughter pulsating at their backs. She was certain that darkness could reach them anywhere, but it had to be now or never. Jump! She shouted, a split-second decision, as if the sliver of light would welcome them like an old friend. With a forceful leap, they soared into the radiance, praying it wasn't a trap, and then, a cold hand grasped at the hem of her shirt. Jenna gasped, her thoughts racing wildly. How could she free them both from this horror? Could light fight darkness? Then suddenly, the ground beneath opened. No warning, just a gaping maw of black that threatened to consume them. Sounds echoed, shrieks, whispers, Jenna. Nathan screamed, his wide eyes filled with terror as the darkness tried to drag him down. Don't let go. She yelled, but it felt like a lie. What if she couldn't hold on? Just as the shadows began to close in again, her mind raced, piecing together some thread of desperate hope. But then, from the void ahead, came a whisper that chilled her to the bone, you can't escape, this is only the beginning. What did that mean? What nightmare was waiting for them in this new realm? The world twisted and turned, a surreal mix of light and dark. Jenna felt the ground shift, reconfiguring itself into something ominous and alive. Tooth and claw, they would tear at her if she faltered. Around them, the darkness pulsed, an almost sentient thing, feeding off the fear radiating from the two of them. Nathan was slipping again, his small fingers barely maintaining their grip on hers. She fumbled, yanking him closer, terrified he might vanish into the abyss. Where are we? He whimpered, the tremor in his voice igniting her panic anew. Stay close, buddy, we've gotta keep going. But her own uncertainty gnawed at her. The flickering light that had seemed so inviting now felt like a lighthouse guiding them into stormy seas. The whispers grew louder, swirling around them, taunting them. Mommy. Nathan choked out, I'm scared. The words felt like knives, each whimper cutting deeper into her resolve. Me too, she admitted, her heart pounding like thunder in her chest. But surrender was not an option. They pressed on, straining against the choking darkness, their footsteps echoing in the wide expanse. Suddenly, the whispers sharpened, morphing into a cacophony of sinister voices that bounced off the walls. Join us, embrace the dark, they beckoned, seductive and ceaseless. Jenna's skin crawled, dread twisting in her gut. What were they inviting her to become? She took a deep breath. Nathan, focus on my voice. She urged, screaming over the unnerving chorus. Just keep your eyes on me. The tunnel around them felt endless, and the air thickened with a palpable dread. It was not just a chase anymore, it was a slow, deliberate torment, the darkness whispering truths she didn't want to believe. Mommy! Nathan screamed again as something brushed against his leg. Jenna turned, her heart leaping into her throat. Shadows danced around them, literally grasping at Nathan, trying to lure him into their depths. No! Get away! Jenna shouted, pushing back the darkness with her body as if sheer force could repel it. She could feel the sharp grasp of cold fingers grazing her skin, sending icy fingers of fear straight to her bones. The light they had chased flickered weakly ahead, and she knew they had to reach it, their only chance for survival. Run! Jenna cried, launching forward once more, desperation fueling her legs, even as they felt like they were filled with lead, but the shadows weren't done yet. Tendrils of darkness whipped around them, pulling and tugging at their clothes, making it harder to move. Each step became a battle, raw terror battling against exhaustion. Mommy, I can't. Nathan cried, his small voice breaking as he heaved. Jenna spun to look at him, his face wet with tears, eyes wide with fear. Hold on, just a little more. She pressed, but doubt filled her mind. Would they ever reach that damned light? And just when they thought they were gaining ground, the ground split open beneath them with a roar. Jenna screamed as a chasm opened, darkness yawning wide, not just a void but a vast maw that promised despair and oblivion. The ground quaked, shifting underfoot while a deeper malevolent laughter echoed ominously as if reveling in their terror. Jenna was yanked backward, the sheer force of the shadows sucking her into the void. Mommy! Nathan screamed, scrambling desperately to hold on to her, fracturing her concentration. "Let go!" she gasped, arms stretching out toward him. But that wasn't an option. She couldn't let this darkness take him, she wouldn't. "We can still fight this." In that moment, the weight of despair crashed down upon her like an avalanche, tightening around their tangle of limbs. Death felt close, too close. Untangling herself from the swirling void, she lunged as she felt it pull at their heels, dark fingers mocking them, pulling Nathan further into despair. In that frantic moment, realization hit her like a jolt. If they didn't fight back together, they'd both be swallowed. "Nathan! Move! Cling to me!" Jenna shouted. They had to jump, but could they together? Just as she turned them to face the void, something deeper surfaced. The shadows shifted again, and the whisper returned, more potent than before. "You'll never escape, your failures will haunt you." And just as it felt like all was lost, Jenna felt a surge within her, a flicker of something she couldn't define. But what if this darkness restrained more than their bodies? As she readied for the leap, she forced herself to question everything she believed. What if they weren't just running away? What if the light wasn't escape but damnation? Suddenly, Nathan's eyes locked on her. "Mommy, I can feel it too." He breathed, his voice shaky but full of resolve. They had to act. But would their hearts untouched by fear be enough to conquer what lay ahead? As they prepared to jump, the oppressive darkness came for them once more, inviting them to join in its eternal torment. Would they take the plunge into the unknown? The choice hung in the air, thick and electric, as shadows slithered closer. Jenna clutched Nathan tighter, his small frame shaking against her chest as they faced the yawning void. Time warped around them, a stuttering heartbeat of dread. The air felt heavy, laden with impending doom, and the whispers grew into a chorus of screams, echoing all around. "Mommy, I'm scared!" Nathan cried, his voice drowning in the cacophony. The shadows wavered, their forms teasingly close yet perpetually out of reach. Jenna's heart raced, each pulsing beat reminding her of how easily it could all end. "Just hold on to me," she shouted, the panic rising in her throat like bile. The darkness loomed, eager to swallow them whole, but she couldn't let it, she wouldn't. But the pull was relentless. More than just a mere physical force, it gnawed at her mind, stirring thoughts of despair. What if we can't do this? The darkness whispered, curling around her resolve like a serpent. No. She spat back, forcing her will against the shadows that clawed at them. We can do this. She felt Nathan's grip tighten, felt his resolve aligning with hers, and everything around them skewed. On three. Jenna yelled, determination flooding her veins. 1, 2, 3. Together, they leaped. The moment they took flight, Jenna felt the electricity crackling in the air, the shadow tendrils momentarily recoiled. It was as if time froze. They soared through the stillness, the horrifying weight of the chasm gone for an instant. Then gravity took hold. They plummeted, spiraling downwards, and Jenna's stomach twisted as the abyss beckoned eagerly. She braced for impact, but instead of the hard surface she anticipated, they landed softly in a misty haze. Jenna blinked against the fog. Confusion gripped her. Where are we? Her voice trembled, echoing in the void. Nathan squeezed her hand tighter, both of them scanning their surroundings. The air was thick, almost metallic, and shadows danced feebly at the edges of their vision. Before her, strange shapes flickered in and out of focus. Figures, swirling in the distance. The whispers changed, now ushering a more sinister chant, welcome home, mommy." Nathan's voice was barely a whisper now, trembling. I don't like this, me neither, Jenna admitted, her breath hitching. She forced herself to take a step. But we have to keep moving. We can't let it take us. Each step felt like walking through molasses, the weight of hidden eyes pressing down on them. The shadows hovered closer, swirling around their legs like smoke, their whispers morphing into something worse than mere words, a chuckling malice that sent tremors down her spine. Suddenly, a figure darted past them, deep in the mist. Jenna's heart stopped. "Did you see that?" She turned to Nathan, only to find him transfixed, staring wide-eyed at something beyond her. "Mommy," he breathed, backing away slightly, fear rolling off him like waves. "Turn around, Nathan!" Jenna shouted, panic surging through her as she slowly turned to look. Standing behind them, a towering shadow loomed, indistinct but undeniably humanoid. Its form shifted, twisting as if made of the very darkness around them. And those eyes, voids against the nothingness, glinting with an unspeakable hunger. "Run!" She screamed, but as they turned to flee, Jenna knew deep down that escape was never that simple. The darkness breathed down their necks. They were not just fleeing, they were being hunted. As they sprinted, panic propelling them, Jenna glimpsed more figures, emerging from the fog. Each one had the same gaping emptiness in their eyes, the weight of despair echoing in their silence. Caught between fear and the instinct to fight, she knew they had to act quickly. Could they truly escape this nightmare, or were they merely the latest victims in a twisted game? The horde of shadows began to close in as Jenna clutched Nathan tighter, the echoes of laughter growing louder around them. "Mommy, where do we go?" Nathan's small voice shook her to the core. "I don't know," she yelled, heart racing, searching for something, anything that resembled hope. Would any path lead them back to the light or deeper into the void of despair? Without a choice, they turned down a narrow passageway, the familiar shadows pursuing. But would it lead them to salvation or pull them further into the abyss? As they sprinted into the darkness, Jenna felt the terror shift again, a realization creeping upon her. What if the answers they sought lay hidden in the darkest corners of their own fears? The weight of that thought pressed down on her as they vanished into the mist, surrounded by the mocking laughter that filled the air. Jenna and Nathan pushed deeper into the mist, the shadows swirling around them like hungry beasts. This was no longer just a chase, it was a relentless hunt. The laughter echoed in their ears, a sinister melody that drained the light from their souls. But they had one advantage: hope. It flickered dimly but persisted, its warmth battling the chilling tendrils of despair wrapping around their ankles. "Don't look back," Jenna urged, her heart hammering against her ribcage, sending sharp jolts of urgency through her limbs. They needed to move fast, to outrun not just the shadows but the creeping dread tightening its grip on their minds. Each footfall echoed greater than the last, with each stride, her breath caught in her throat, the heavy air filling with malevolent whispers. They were telling her to give in, to succumb to the game, but she couldn't. Not now. Suddenly, Nathan stumbled. Jenna turned just in time to see him trip over a twisted root, the ground beneath them seemingly pulling back to claim him. "No!" she shouted, lunging forward, snatching his wrist just before the shadows could grasp him. Tears glistened in her son's eyes, shining like stars in a stormy sky. "Mommy, I'm so scared." His voice trembled, each word a delicate thread bonded by fear and innocence. "I know, love. But we are stronger than this." She felt the surge of maternal instinct strengthen her resolve. "We will beat this." Jenna thrust her arm forward, pulling him along as they raced through the thick fog. "There's got to be a way out. Focus on my voice," she said, each word more determined than the last. Nathan nodded, rallying himself, his small hand tight around hers. They were bound together, two hearts fighting against the inevitable. The laughter swelled, transforming into a cacophony of screams, despair-filled echoes taunting them from every side. "Join us. This is your fate." The shadows danced closer, the figures morphing into grotesque representations of the neighbors who had once greeted her with smiles. "Mommy, they look just like the people from town." Nathan gasped. Jenna's stomach twisted. "I know, sweetie. But don't listen to them." She tightened her grip, keep them moving through eerie silhouettes that beckoned, hands stretching outward like countless arms of the deceased. Just ahead, she spotted a glimmer, a pulsating light that radiated warmth and comfort, stark against the oppressive darkness surrounding them. "There!" Jenna yelled, her pulse quickening. "We can make it." With determination pulling her onward, they surged toward the light, the darkness lashing out behind them but, for a moment, losing its grip. She didn't dare glance back. Victory was within reach. Before they could reach the light, a shadow shot forward from the darkness. Mr. Hubble loomed directly ahead, his smile wider than ever, jagged teeth glistening like broken glass. "You cannot escape," he hissed, his voice wrapping around them like a vice. "This is your destiny." Panic flared as Jenna felt the energy shift. But she wouldn't let them take Nathan. She pushed forward, howling against the tide of terror. "Nathan, jump!" The moment he leaped, she pulled him up, a fierce motion fueled by love and desperation. Just as Mr. Hubble lunged, they soared inward, crashing into the light. For a breathtaking moment, the world skewed, colors bursting like fireworks around them, vibrant hues washing away the darkness. Time slowed, and for a heartbeat, Jenna felt free, weightless as if they slipped through the fingers of despair. But that freedom didn't last. The shadows writhed around the light, clawing and groping, forming a barricade of darkness that swirled restlessly. "Embrace the game!" echoed around them, a chorus from 1,000 twisted voices. Jenna felt herself teeter on the edge of panic. They needed to stand firm. The light was only a passage, it needed them to fight back. "Stay close." As she turned to face the darkness, determination burning in her chest. She focused solely on that glowing warmth behind them. In that moment, they became a duo against the tide of nightmares, love their ultimate weapon. Once more, she bellowed, an anthem of hope against an army of despair. They dove into the light, and suddenly, a roaring sound drowned out the darkness, pulling everything away in a violent rush, then stillness. Jenna opened her eyes. They stood on real grass bathed under a pale moonlight, the park stretching endlessly before them like a sanctuary. Jenna gasped, arms enclosing Nathan fiercely, breathing in the sweet scent of safety. "Jenna!" a voice called from behind. She turned, astonished, to see a figure rushing towards her. It was Tom, her husband, his worried eyes resting on them. "You found him." Tears spilled instantly. "We did," she gasped, feeling the weight of what they had conquered. "But how?" "There's no time." "They'll be back," Tom said, his breath frantic. "The darkness doesn't give up so easily." But that was okay. They had faced it together and lived to tell the tale. "I won't let them take him," Jenna replied, the determination rejuvenating her. "We'll fight. Together." The wind howled around them, echoing the voices of terror that once haunted them. But now, Jenna stood tall, clutching Nathan tightly, her heart racing. They had each other, and for now, that was enough. The game wouldn't end tonight, but she would make the choice to stand against the dark, a warrior in a battle of light. Together, they turned forward, ready for whatever storm may follow, yet wholly aware they now bore the power to change their fate. The darkness could try again, but family was their strongest shield. Light began to dawn on the horizon, painting golden hues across the sky. The whispers faded, but she knew they would always carry the message of resilience within them. Now more than ever, they understood, the game had no power over true love, and darkness could not define the path they chose. So, they pulled together, stepping boldly into the light, ready to forge a new beginning. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss any exclusive stories like this one. Smash that like button to feed the algorithm and share this crazy conclusion. Your reactions and theories in the comments matter. Flood the section with your thoughts. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this thrilling finale. Help us rise together.